I'ma come a little different. But I tell her, free real start federal. Hey, let's get it. Let go, let go, let go.
The Lunch Table Podcast back at you for episode 6. I'm Davo. That's Chabo. We're going to continue to get this thing rolling. The Olympics have now officially begun in Paris, France. There's plenty of sports to stay tuned in. Of course, U.S. men's basketball has not been as good as most people would most likely expect. But here we are. You can watch field hockey or rugby if you're not into basketball. There's everything. There's even fencing and rowing for those kind of people. I'm not one of those people, but look, we're not going to judge. So we're going to start this thing off with the Paris Olympics. And let's start with basketball specifically, because obviously that is our favorite sport. And U.S. men's basketball has been a whirlwind of stories when we look at the start of their play. What do you make of it so far?
Yeah, I think U.S. basketball is fine. I think the 5 games that they've played so far, it's a showcase for a reason, y'all. They had practice for 5 days before they got on that court. So they're still putting some things together, and that's what happens. When you've got 10 superstars on one team, there's not an easy formula. Steve Kerr, obviously a respectable coach. So I think he can get the job done, and he'll do the best he can with the squad. So I think they'll be fine. My prediction is for them to win gold these Olympics. But like we talked about in the past couple episodes, basketball has been a global game for a decade or 2 or 3 now, but you're starting to see the evolution of these foreign guys show up in the Olympics. Every country you look at that's qualified for the Olympics, they all have hoopers. They all have elite level NBA hoopers. So yeah, it's good. I don't think the U.S. has fallen off, quote unquote. The rest of the world has just stepped up. I'm glad that the U.S. is getting pushed a little bit because that makes it that much sweeter when they do come back and put it together and win. It's not they're playing scrubs anymore. They're playing some real deal guys. So I think they'll win gold. I think they'll be fine. But you can get into all the weeds and all the stories and all the matchups that you want to. When you put it simple on paper, they're 5-0 against everybody they've played. They're about to play against South Sudan again, who they're gonna play against better this time because they almost just lost to them. They're going to play against Jokic again, who that matchup will get tougher because I think Bogdanovic is going to be playing for Serbia this go round, and he's a huge contributor for them. So I think that Serbia game will be a little bit better than the first time. I think South Sudan will get beat a little bit more than they did the first time. And they play Jose Alvarado from the Pelicans and Puerto Rico in game 3. So I'm looking forward to the pool play. I believe they'll go 3-0. I think that Serbia matchup will be the one that's the closest contest. But like I said, man, it just because basketball is a global game doesn't mean America's not still the best at it. So I expect the U.S. to I expect them to come out and win gold. But yeah, it's one of the things where I want to see them win, but when it comes down to it, I just want to sit back and appreciate the group they've got together, because Curry, LeBron, KD, those guys won't be suiting up together for the U.S. again. So, I got to appreciate it. That's those are the childhood stars we grew up watching and all that good stuff. So I just want to sit back and appreciate what we're watching. And, if they bring that gold medal home, that's a cherry on top.
Yeah, it's essentially the last dance, it feels like, for that core 4 to 5 for the U.S. and Curry, LeBron, and a few others. But, man, I love that you bring up the phrase, the rest of the world has just gotten better. Because what has the conversation been, not only in the NBA world, but heck, one of our own episodes in this podcast? It's the evolution and the growth of other countries, especially in Europe. You're seeing a lot of players not American born that are doing a really good job. And they stepped in the NBA, and it's the same thing. So I think that's a great point. I don't know that it's the U.S. struggling. Again, I think it's more of, man, the talent has just continued and continued to rise up. If you look at a team like Canada, that roster is ridiculous. There's a lot of really good players on that Canadian roster. So no, that's a great point, and I'm glad you bring that up because it's easy to look at the South Sudan game, and I think that's an outlier. LeBron having to make a game-winning layup essentially is nuts. South Sudan's not really putting across many NBA prospects and players for that matter.
Right.
That one was weird, but outside of that, no, I agree. It is just the evolution of the game in general.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you look at the NBA itself, and if anybody's watching this and you're not a basketball guru person, NBA basketball and Olympic basketball is not the same style of basketball, at all. That's
Right,
why I
right.
mean, you see in the NBA,
Yeah,
Joel Embiid will average 30 points, double double, and then he gets in the Olympics, and if he gets double digits in the scoring column, that's insane for Joel. Because it's a different
yeah,
style of basketball. But I mean, when you look at the NBA though, since they play a lot of games, we've got a lot of ground to cover with that. I mean, what, three of the top five, four of the top five players in the league this past year are not American.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid's playing for the USA. He wasn't a citizen 3 years ago. He's Cameroonian. I mean,
right.
that's another.
Yeah,
You got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Canada. So it's
yeah,
just these guys are all over. Now with that being said, if you look at the top 10 players in the league and five of them are foreign and five of them are domestic USA guys, well, the USA is winning five to the rest of the world. So now with the Olympics,
yeah,
those guys get
yeah,
up a bit, but yeah, I mean they bring the power, man. That's another thing people don't remember. The U.S. team has been together for 3 weeks, maybe a month. These foreign teams play
yeah,
together as a unit every single month. They're outside of their pro league, so the
yeah,
USA has got to play catch up chemistry wise, but like I said earlier. USA is still, the number one in the basketball world, and it should be that way. I mean, we created the game, and we've got, millions of players, so it should be best. But yeah, so they'll be fine. I think they'll win gold. But yeah, the rest of the world, we're starting to see those kids that grew up watching that dream team era where basketball went global.
yeah,
They're starting to get in their prime, and they're showing it.
yeah. Now, outside of basketball, just in general, we'll kind of bring this full scope for the Olympics as a whole. First off, have you been watching the start of the Olympics with all these different sports?
Yeah, I'm about to say I watched about an hour of handball in the office today, which handball is not a sport I grew up playing. I'm a South Georgia boy. Handball isn't a sport we know the rules of.
No, we
It's
didn't have that in South Georgia.
but it was an intriguing game to watch, man. I watched a little bit of handball. I watched some of U.S. women's soccer play. I think it
Yeah, I
Zambia?
watched that.
Well, I can't
It
remember.
was Zambia.
Zambia,
Yep,
right?
yep, Zambia.
I knew it was a Z. So I watched a little bit of that game. I mean, then you see the U.S. women scored 3 goals in 25 minutes, and you're like, all right, cool. Basketball is not the only sport we're supposed to be good at. So
Right.
so yeah, so I watched a little bit of soccer, which that's a common one, but a little bit of handball got watched today. There's some sports, swimming being one of them. I watch a little bit of track outside of the Olympics, but swimming, track, gymnastics, those are sports that I tune into every summer Olympics. So I'm looking forward to those coming
Yeah.
back for this one. But yeah, I mean, I love the Olympics, man. You get to watch some real good competition that you don't get to see the other 3 years.
I mean, bro, I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for me to just watch some of the most random things that on a normal basis I wouldn't sit on the couch and do. I'm pretty sure cycling is one of the Olympic sports. I want to watch that, bro. I think I would love to watch cycling for some reason.
Oh yeah.
Even rowing. Like to me, rowing sounds kind of fun.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know why, bro, but it's like it's just so niche and so unique.
Yeah.
That I feel like I need to watch it. But
Yeah.
man, the Olympics, I will say in the past I haven't been the most excited about just because I was younger and I was like, who gives a crap about handball? Who gives a crap about this random sport? But now that I'm older, I'm like, nah, this is actually dope
Oh
to
yeah.
look at and see what other countries do and what other countries are good at.
Right.
Um, yeah, man, we'll see what the U.S. does in general. I like our basketball and soccer chances, but
I tell you,
outside of that, man, I got zero clue.
right. I'm really looking forward to Simone Biles' return to
That's
gymnastics.
right. Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
watched episode one of her docu-series on Netflix, phenomenal. But yeah, so I'm looking, that'll be another sport that I try to pay closer attention to, just because I mean, Simone Biles, I mean, that's the GOAT. And in 2020, we saw a complete change in the pace of, her career. So I'm
Yeah,
excited. And
yeah,
I mean, now, I mean, different sports, the different age ranges vary, but I mean, in gymnastics, you don't see a lot of 27-year-old gymnasts in the Olympics, so in which, you hear 27, oh, that's super young. But, you get into the world of gymnastics, Simone Biles is in
right.
the latter part of her career, most definitely. So I want to see if she can get one last, prime level push at these gymnastics here in 2024. And I think she'll be good. I think she's had a lot of time to get situated and get back to her form. And I mean, even last time she was still in form physically. It was just the mental side. So I'm looking forward
Right.
to,
Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, the Olympics, a reason I love the Olympics is because you can be handball, rowing, cycling, gymnastics, or hoops. If you got the red, white, and blue on, I'm pulling for you. So that's what I
Facts.
like about it
Yeah.
is Simone. I don't watch gymnastics outside of, I mean, maybe I watch a little SEC meet or something, LSU and those people are phenomenal. But I don't watch a lot of gymnastics outside of the Olympics. So I'm looking forward to Simone bringing some more gold medals home, and just to see her rock out, because she deserves it. So gymnastics will be one that I pay close attention to too. But I agree, man. The Olympics is awesome. You get a lot of sports in one area in a couple weeks, and you sit down and appreciate it.
Yeah, Simone Biles might be the biggest storyline, if you will, when it comes to the Olympics this year, at least for the U.S. Just for, the people that might not know, Simone Biles in 2020, due to mental health reasons, decided to opt out of the Olympics, and there was a ton of backlash. I mean, obviously, people that supported her,
Oh
but
yeah,
there was a lot of people and a lot of messages that were like, this is whack. Why are you doing this?
right.
So, long story short, because that's a whole other can of worms, it is dope to see her, back competing for the U.S. I'm definitely going to be tuned into that to see how she does.
Absolutely.
It's exciting, man. It's exciting.
Yeah, I think as Simone performs in these Olympics and we have future episodes, I could definitely see that being a topic that circles back around to kind of talk about how she's performing. But until then,
Yeah.
we're rooting for Simone.
Yeah, I know we are. And if you're from the Atlanta area, as we segue into our next segment, you're going to be rooting for the Atlanta Falcons this next year. The Falcons draft Michael Penix with the ninth pick in the first round of the NFL draft. Of course, they signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year deal before that. In free agency, the Falcons roster is deep and very talented. So, say that to say, our next segment is comments from the comments. This one is from my boy Jack Mueller. Shout out to Jack. And his question is, what is the ceiling for the Falcons this year?
Yeah. Oh, well, great question, Jack. I've as a geographical Falcons fan, I'm looking forward to this team, Dave. I think offensively, this is the biggest level of star power on offense since I'd say a Matt Ryan, Roddy White, Julio, Devontae Freeman, like that era. Not that I'm saying it's the same level, but you have a lot of stars and a lot of big names walking around the building this year. New head coach. I love Raheem Morris. So I think they're headed in the right direction. It is objectively an improvement from last season. So
Yeah,
like I said, if I think, and one main reason the Falcons may be an improvement from last year is because you're going from Desmond Ritter to a potential top 10 quarterback in the NFL and the number 9 pick sitting on the bench behind him. So I think they're in a good position. I think Darnell Mooney is I'm not gonna predict that he's gonna have a phenomenal season, but he has the opportunity to get his name back on some radars. He's not gonna be the
yeah,
number one guy, which is fortunate for him. But he's in a situation that wants to head into a new direction, and he's hitting Atlanta at the right time because he can be a part of that new direction. So I
yeah,
like Darnell at the 2 spot. Obviously, Drake London's returning. I'm a fan of Drake London. I hope he kind of moves into that elite receiver tier and kind of comes up in some bigger conversations. Obviously, man, you've got a monster in Kyle Pitts sitting in your locker room. Can somebody use him correctly? Can somebody come in and realize you've got a potential top 3 tight end in the league on your roster? Let's use him effectively. So I think if that gets used right, because I mean, there's so many guys in the NFL and the NBA and any league, any sport. I've seen so many teams with all-star rosters and they don't get anything done. Because you can't just have guys. You've got to have some direction. So like that's circling back to Raheem Morris. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's got some experience. He did a solid job in Tampa Bay, even though he was a head guy.
yeah, yeah, he did.
He was focused more on the defensive side of the ball. So now he's got more holistic, respect for Atlanta. I think they got some players, man. I think Bijan Robinson I'm hearing, I've read some stuff that, he is going to get used more like a Debo, Christian McCaffrey guy. I want to see Bijan get a lot of touches this season. And if something hits the fan in the wrong way and Bijan is not able to be on the field, you got Algier coming off, who's one of the best
Yeah,
backup backs in the league.
yeah,
So they've got,
yeah,
I mean, you can point your finger in any direction of that Falcons offensive locker room and point at a phenomenally talented player. So they've got a lot of good pieces. I think to answer the original question from Jack, I mean, I think the ceiling, I'll go 11-6. I think that may be reaching. I'm a realistic Falcons fan. That may be reaching.
sure.
I'm saying that's the ceiling. My prediction may be
Yeah, yeah,
but I mean, I think, like I said, on paper, the Falcons have everything they need to potentially win the NFC South. But then again, I'm not putting any money on it with it being a first year, a new era of Falcons football. But I'm looking
yeah,
forward to it. I haven't had this level of hope for Falcons ball in a couple years, so I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, yeah. I'll answer the question directly first. I'll say future wise, when we look at how deep they can go, I think the Falcons' ceiling is an NFC championship appearance.
Okay.
And I say appearance in almost all caps because I don't see the Falcons being able to beat the San Francisco 49ers if that's how things would shape out in a championship game. I just don't think the Falcons are there, at least not yet. But to get to an NFC championship is a really good thing. And the Falcons have all the tools to do that in my eyes. Record wise, I'm with you. I'd say around 11-6, maybe 12-5.
Right.
When you look at this schedule for the Falcons,
It's
the
easy.
second half is very favorable. Very favorable.
Yeah.
But I will say they open up with the Steelers, the Eagles, and the Chiefs. I mean, that's the first three games on their schedule, and that's not going to be easy. None of those teams are a breeze by any stretch.
Okay.
So that first half, I'm afraid for the Falcons if things don't go the best in those first few games. I'm afraid they tail off. But if you can get one or two of those games as a win, I think you have a lot of momentum. And then you take that to what is a favorable schedule after that. So, yeah, the Falcons should win the NFC South easily in my eyes. I mean, I don't even think about that as the ceiling part because that should be a no-brainer. But NFC Championship, man, that's where I see this team. And no offense to Kirk Cousins, I think he's decent and he's good at best.
Right.
But Kirk Cousins is not going to bring you to the top. He's not. So, he'll get you to maybe an NFC championship. Hopefully, he definitely gets you to an NFC South win. But Falcons are in a good spot, and I don't think Atlanta fans need to try and ask for the world right now. You be happy with success. Be happy with just getting things going in a forward and positive direction, especially with Raheem Morris, first year head coach. I mean, look, we got to see what he does as that guy, the voice in the locker room. So, yeah, great question, Jack. I love it. And I like this Falcons team. I really do.
Yes, sir. All righty, y'all. We're coming back with another high five segment. This time we got one football season coming up. We just talked about the Atlanta Falcons, who I don't think their QB is going to be on this list because we both have brains. But top 5 NFL QBs, Davo, let's talk about it. Who you throwing in here?
Yeah, let's do it, man. We're both going to agree number one is Patrick Mahomes. So let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. Of course, the GOAT in my eyes already.
Yeah.
He will be the GOAT for almost anybody in a few years. I think number two, man, this was actually really tough for me because, I mean, I'm teetering back and forth between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
Gut sometimes tells me Lamar. Just instinctual ability. You need a big play, give it to Lamar Jackson. But then when I really think about it, and I think about Josh Allen's career, if you erase the Kansas City Chiefs from Josh Allen's resume, how much higher are we thinking of him? I mean, this guy has been lights out, and he's had a good, solid team. I don't think that his team was amazing, but I think they were very good, and he had good pieces around him. I'm going to go Josh Allen number 2,
Okay.
and then Lamar behind him.
Okay.
And we can start there. We can start at
Right.
working that out because I'm assuming that's who you have 2 and 3, but maybe it's
Yeah.
flip flop.
I was about to say, kids, if there's any kids watching this, when you're growing up, your mama says, listen to your gut. And that's what Davo should have done, man. I like Lamar too. I just think Lamar is one of the most dynamic athletes in the NFL, in the country right
Yeah.
now. Any
Yeah.
I love Lamar. I think Josh has had more tools to work with than Lamar. And both of them are sitting
Yeah.
at the crib
Yeah.
with no rings right now. So I do agree if the Kansas City Chiefs are not a thing, that Josh Allen has a couple more accolades at the crib and on Wikipedia. But I think Lamar Jackson is that dude. I think there's a lot of conversation. I mean, I'm not saying Lamar Jackson is better than Patrick Mahomes at all. There's a lot of people that think at times Lamar Jackson is the best player on the football field. Um,
Yeah.
so so I think I like Lamar 2, Josh Allen 3, but we both agree that would probably be the consensus top 3. So we'll
Yeah.
circle back
Yeah.
when we get 4 and 5, but I wouldn't be
Okay.
mad either order. But I think Lamar Jackson is. You look at some of the pieces he's got around him. He's got some great pieces, including Rashad Bateman. Shout out Tiff County, Georgia. But you know, Lamar and Josh, that's the 2-3 lineup for me. But they're both talented players and they both have similar amounts of trophies at the house. So I'm cool with either one.
Yeah.
So the conversation gets a little more cloudy after 3 though. That 4 or 5 spot. I've
Yeah.
got 4 names on my list that I'll throw in
Yep.
the conversation. But let's see what you got, Devo. Who you like 4 or 5? Or who's in your head?
Yeah, man. I talk about going with the gut. This one is straight from the gut, and I don't care who hates it. I'm 100%. I believe this with all my heart, and there's not a question in my mind about it. C.J. Stroud is the 4th best quarterback in the NFL.
There you go.
I don't give a crap what anybody thinks. Look at what C.J. Stroud did as a rookie, inheriting a Houston team that I don't care what any analyst tries to tell you, they sucked. That roster was not good. Tank Dell, cool receiver, can move a little bit. He's nowhere near the upper echelon of receivers. Nico Collins, the same thing. Nice little role piece at best. CJ Stroud has made these dudes look like, the shiniest piece of trophies that we've ever seen. In my eyes, if I want a quarterback that I'm building around, or not even building around, just putting into a situation,
Right.
I'm taking CJ over anybody else in
Yep.
the starting quarterback position. I am.
I could agree with that. I'm a huge fan of CJ Stroud. I think I don't know what the official term would be for it. If CJ Stroud is a year 4, year 5 quarterback, and he had a year like last year, he's in this conversation, no question. I think people are looking at him because he's so
Yeah.
young, they don't have enough film mentally to consider him in that top echelon. I agree. I think CJ Stroud I mean, I would say solid top 5 QB in the league. I mean, you obviously love him at 4. I have no problem with that. I think CJ's a baller.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and CJ too, like you said, when you drop that's why I like Lamar too, because he's had some situations in Baltimore where he doesn't have shiny trophies around him, but
Fair.
he makes it look
Yeah.
better. And they win. And I mean, it just comes down to, bro. I mean, who's winning ball games? I mean, that's if you're a good quarterback. I'm not saying if you lose games, you're not a good quarterback, but if you're
Sure.
winning a crap ton of football games, you're a solid quarterback. I mean, that's just, and I mean,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sounds super simple, but like you said, you throw CJ Stroud in a bottom 3, dang near the worst team in the NFL, and that Joker goes to the playoffs year 1, man. Like, I mean, what? Like, he walked into that system brand new, and they didn't add a whole lot of pieces around him. It wasn't like a Kirk Cousins is
No.
coming into the crappy Falcons. Like, no, they're adding pieces. But I mean, Stroud is walking into some like nothing, dude. And they have such an amazing year, and he just plays like a true vet off the rip. So yeah, I'm not mad about Stroud at all. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
And I do have. I'll just go ahead and finish it for you. That way, you have the idea of what I'm thinking. I
right,
got Joe Burrow at 5,
okay,
um, and I'm definitely willing to move him off because you do got Dak Prescott. Heck, I'm throwing Jordan Love in the conversation. I am. I think he's proven a lot. To be honest with you, of course, Jalen Hurts is probably one of the biggest names that you think of. Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah,
the other one. But yeah, that's my five
I got you.
off the cuff.
I about to say Burrow, I'm not mad at. But yeah, because man, I do love Burrow. I mean, I have him on my list, like Tor. I had him in like the 6, 7 range. I love Burrow. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa has got to be another name I throw in there. Then
Yeah.
my argument comes back about winning ball games. Tua has way too many weapons to not have playoff wins, bro. So that's
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
I
Yeah.
can't give him the. I don't think I'll give Tua the nod at 5. Jalen Hurts is a name that I like. But
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie. I think Joe Burrow is a little bit more talented than Jalen, especially in the throwing game. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So we're thinking. You said Burrow, Hurts, and like Jordan Love was kind of the three you're thinking.
Yeah. Well, Love is kind of an honorable mention more
Right.
than
Right.
anything. Man, with Jalen Hurts, I like him. And it's not faulting him that he's on the Eagles, but especially the way that Philadelphia played, I feel like to me his skill and his stats are a bit clouded. It's hard to take what he did and his wins per se for face value. I mean, just being honest, you have the best offensive line in football. You have AJ Brown on the outside. You have one of the best defenses in all of the NFL. You have a good running back. So that's why it's tough for me. I look at Joe Burrow. I mean, with Cincinnati, outside of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, that O line, I mean, they couldn't block a freaking sandwich. They couldn't block a piece of salami if it was running at them. And that's how bad they were. Joe Burrow was taking hits left and right. And I just think he's a winner, like you said. I see Burrow a lot more than Hurts as, you want to go win a ball game, you give it to Joe Burrow. I don't think about that with Jalen Hurts. I just think of, if you want a guy that can run well and facilitate your offense, Hurts is the guy.
Yeah. And I mean, and make no mistake about it, we're sitting here having this conversation about Jalen Hurts at the fifth best spot quarterback in the league. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like there's
Yeah.
a huge drop off. I'd say this: Jalen Hurts is, as a QB, I would say it's just less consistent than Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you get in those isolated spots when the O line blocks well, everybody runs a correct route, you read the defense correctly, who is consistently making the right read and the right execution on the throw? That's where I lean Burrow. So I can hear, yeah. So I like Burrow over Hurts slightly, very very slightly.
Yeah.
So
I think it's close. I do think it's
I
close.
think, I mean, because I mean, Jalen Hurts, he's been to the top, he's been to that Super Bowl, he's been to the top of the
Yeah.
mountain, and it's been his team offensively. So,
Yeah.
I like it. I love Jalen Hurts. I was a big fan of him at Bama and his senior year of high school. So I've been watching him for a while, and always been a fan of his game. Man, there's not a more solid professional athlete, than a guy like Jalen
I
Hurts.
agree.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think I like that group. I think, yeah, Mahomes, we can go. How about this? We go Lamar at 2, and then we leave CJ
Okay.
at 4. That the compromise.
Okay.
That's the compromise of the day. We'll lock that.
Yeah, I mean, I love that
Okay.
because again, man, like when I say I was teetering between
Right.
Allen and Lamar, I mean it was literally like
It's
the left
close
side of
to
my
me.
brain was telling me Josh, the right side of my brain was telling me Lamar, and I couldn't figure out which one to pick from.
Let's
No,
do that
I'm cool with that.
because I
I
like
like that.
your 4 and 5 picks. So yeah, let's do Mahomes, Lamar, Josh, and then yeah, we'll throw CJ 4, and that boy Joe Shiesty at 5. I'm not mad at that. I do hope, man. I hope Burrow gets top 5 QB attention and success this year, man. It was awful to see Cincinnati get done and perform how they did to start off last year, but I hope they bounce back a little bit. I think, they've obviously had some pieces shift since their prime days, but not that their prime is over or anything, just some pieces have shift. You just gotta put the new puzzle pieces together and rock out. So they'll be good. I hope But yeah, I like that five: Mahomes, Lamar, Allen, Stroud, Burrow.
And there's going to be a lot of people, I'm sure, that are very mad that we're leaving the quarterback of the New York Jets from
Yeah,
this top
I
five
mean,
in Aaron Rodgers.
this
But
you
I
know,
mean, look, we're talking about right now. I mean, if we played a football game today, who is the top five? And I still think Aaron Rodgers is good. It's not that he's washed completely,
yeah.
but I don't see him performing at a higher level than any of these dudes that we just listed off. I really don't.
Right, and it is a little, from my side at least, a little bit of recency bias. You know, one of my favorite quotes in sports is availability is the best ability. You know, and so I
100%.
think I think Aaron Rodgers. I grew up watching Green Bay Packers fans. I love their teams growing up. I was a big Aaron Rodgers fan, but um, he played two snaps, like one snap last year. So it's a
Yeah.
if he came out and killed, and the New York Jets have a phenomenal season, it's to no one's surprise. But for the sake of right now, I've just seen a lot more success out of the five guys we've listed.
Right.
A Rod's got to execute just a little bit on New York, and then he'll be right back in this conversation for me.
Yeah. Yeah. But man, this top five, bro, low key, I think I feel the most confident about this top five rather than any other top five we've done. Not that I wasn't confident in the other ones, but like this one,
Yeah,
you you think about this list, man. I'm like, yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
it's
It's good.
I like these guys, man. So yeah, that's a good little top five NFL season coming up. We'll be talking about a lot of these guys when the season comes around and they're performing in
Oh
a
yeah.
good way. But so yeah, I like those five. Shout out, high five.
We're gonna be yapping plenty about the NFL when that thing rolls around. But that's your top five segment. Run over it one more time for you. Patrick Mahomes at number one, Lamar Jackson at number two, Josh Allen number three, at number four. The second year QB stepping into this season, CJ Stroud. And at number five, we thought about Jalen Hurts, but we decided to go with Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals. So there you have it. There's our high five.
Yes, sir.
Back to the future. Doc Brown and Marty McFly are very proud that we're rolling out this brand new segment for y'all on the Lunch Table Podcast. Here's how it's going to work. We're going to throw down 5 games of this segment, and it's not just one sport. It can be anything. For instance, this week we have a men's field hockey game going on that we're going to pick. But we're going to pick 5 games, and it's similar to versus in the sense that it's kind of a competition between me and Chabo, to where we're going to keep our records each week, and obviously each time we do this segment, and see who is the better predictor of the future. If you've seen the movies Back to the Future, you know that Griff gets the almanac and he goes back in time and he's trying to make money off of that. Well, we're not doing this for money. We're just doing this for fun. This is not gambling advice by any stretch of the imagination. Have to make that clear, of
Yes, sir.
course.
Yes, sir.
But Back to the Future segment. This is going to be our first rundown of it. Here we go. We're going to start with some MLB baseball. Keep it tame, keep it light, just to get into it, get our feet wet. Athletics versus Angels. This one is actually on tonight, and I think it started 3 minutes ago, but don't worry, folks. I have no clue what's going on in the game. I haven't looked at anything. I don't even know that the first pitch has happened yet. So, who you got?
I'm gonna go. I mean, Athletics, Angels. Neither one of them strike me as amazing. But I'll say the Angels are at home. That's always a little home field advantage. It's a close game though, man. Like, those teams are very evenly matched. I think, it's
Yeah,
probably
they are.
one or two run difference on the line. So I'm gonna lean Angels. I think they're headed they've got a little bit of a better direction they're headed in. I'm not a huge fan of the Athletics organization. They're kind of on the tail end right now. They got some things changing up. So I'm gonna go Angels. I like everybody knows. If you don't know, I'm going to tell you, not a huge baseball guy. I'll sit down and watch a game, XYZ, but I'm not reading about the MLB every day, like I am some other pro sports. So I'm going to go Angels with my pick, though.
Same. I'm gonna roll right there with you. I like the Angels. I was teetering back and forth with this one. I very, very briefly looked over the starting pitchers of each side, and it's pretty close. To be honest, my thought process was at first the Athletics because I'm playing a dynasty right now with James Madison. Go Dukes, of course, on college football 25. And there was a cornerback recruit that I really wanted, and his name was Angel. And he didn't commit to my school. I was a bit salty about it. So I was going to say I'm going to go with the Athletics because of that. But something in my gut told me no, you need to go Angels. So I'm rocking out with the Angels. I'm right there with you. Next game, it's Canada and Australia in men's basketball. This is for the Olympics, of course.
Men's hoops, man. Canada, Australia. That's a cool game. Both of them played the U.S. in the exhibition showcase thing, and so I've got to look at them a little bit. Um, I think Australia and Canada have similar rosters to this degree. I think they have NBA talent at the top. I think Canada's NBA talent is stronger. Obviously, a guy like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Jamal Murray, those guys. I mean, I think Andrew Wiggins is. I'm not sure. I don't think he's
Yeah.
playing for him, but he's Canadian. I mean, they've got Trey Lyles. I mean, so they've got some guys at the top that I think are stronger than Australia. But both of them, I think their depth is about in the same range. So I don't think it's a situation where, like one of us playing the U.S. and we've got Jason Tatum coming off the bench and they, have somebody that's not in the league or whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm going to go. I'm gonna go Australia for this one.
Ooh.
I think Canada
Ooh.
I think Canada has more talent on paper. And
Yeah.
they both play well in international play. But I think Canada is gonna get some wins in other areas. So in my head, I don't want to say anybody's gonna be undefeated besides the US. But so I'm gonna lean to Australia, man, just for the sake of difference.
Okay.
I think we have another Canada game on our slate later in this five. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna lean Australia for this one because I think you may take Canada, so I just want to see some difference in the record.
That's fair. I am gonna take Canada. On paper, like you said, they are the better team, and they have Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, one of the best players in all the Olympics. That Canada roster is solid. I will say, when you look at the Australian team, I think that their roster might bode well better for Olympic basketball. And the reason I say that is because I think they have a better defensive team. They got guys like Matthew Dellavedova on that roster. And if you remember Delly with the Cleveland Cavaliers, guarding Steph Curry in the finals, that dude was a different breed. I mean, these guys in Australia will get in your grill. They'll play hard-nosed defense. So this one is closer than it might feel to some. I am going to go Canada, but I very well could see Australia winning this game. It's not a pick that I feel good in at all, but I'm going to lean with the experience and lean with the talent, at least to start these Olympics games. So, yeah, I'm going to go Canada. We'll see, man. I think it's a coin flip to a degree. We're going to stay in the Olympics for this next matchup, and I don't think either of us have any clue about these two teams because it's field hockey, men's field hockey. Great Britain versus Spain.
Yeah, man, I'm a huge field hockey guy. And there is not an ounce of truth to that sentence. I don't know, man. It's Great Britain and Spain. A lot of my ancestors from Great Britain, I've been there. Cool place, yada yada. But shout out to my girl Maggie, man. My girlfriend Maggie. Last summer she studied abroad in Barcelona, Spain, and she got to travel to Spain, the Spanish country a little bit. So I'm gonna rock out with my girl, man. Let's go Spain. I'm gonna pull for them. Great Britain, shout out whatever. I don't know anything about field hockey, but Spain finna come out on the field and tear it up, man. That's all I know. So I'm taking the Spaniards. They're gonna bring that W home, and I'm gonna pick it right, and I'm gonna be good on 1-0 in field hockey.
I like that. I like that. But I'm going to go the other direction. Give me Great Britain, man. Give me Great Britain to topple over Spain. The extent of my field hockey knowledge, and it's actually a sport I'm going to be calling with the Dukes, but right now, the extent of my knowledge of field hockey relies on one highlight video I watched of Britain versus Spain for about
maybe 3 minutes max of my time. And Great Britain did a good job against Spain. So that's the only reason I'm picking them in this match. Who knows what's going to happen? But give me
I,
the Brits, man. Give me the
I,
Brits to get it done.
if you watch 3 minutes of highlights there, but that's 180 seconds you got ahead of me because I don't know anything. Somebody could be playing field hockey right in front of me, and I would not know what sport I'm watching. The only thing I know about hockey is that Kylie Kelsey, Jason Kelsey's wife, was a dog at it. So shout out Kylie Kelsey.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, Great Britain win that game. We're gonna have a sweet tea party in Great Britain. You know, me and the Spaniards gonna light that place up, man. So I'm taking Spain on it, man. I'm rocking with Spain, man. Red and gold. Let's do it.
Oh, that's hilarious, bro. Our last one is going to be the one we know the most about. It's Greece versus Canada. This is a matchup that will happen on Sunday. So on the 27th, we already talked about Canada, but of course, Greece, team that's not too shabby in their own right.
Yep.
Chase, who you picking?
This time I'm sticking with the Canadian boys. I think Canada's going to get the job done in this. Obviously, Greece has Giannis Antetokounmpo. Shout out Giannis, and without Giannis, they're not in this. They're not qualified for the Olympics. So I'll say what Greece. My take on it is Greece. If I mean, guys, and I don't know a whole lot about the Olympic qualification where everybody fell, but I do know Greece barely qualified for this Olympics.
Yeah. Yeah.
My mind, Canada is a top four team in Olympic basketball this year, especially talent wise. And they have some great experience and they've won a lot of international games. So, for the
Yeah.
sake of, when you look at it on paper, barely qualified top four team, I'm going to lean with Canada. I think they have a lot more depth than Greece does. So, that's another contributing factor. So I'm going to rock out
Yeah.
with Gilgis and the Canadian boys on that one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I can't go against Canada. I love Giannis, and this one's similar to Australia in the sense that I wouldn't be shocked if Giannis and Greece does pull off the upset, just because Giannis is one of the few basketball players on the planet that can impact the game really by himself, and he doesn't need any help because of his length, because of his size on the court, on the defensive end, especially again in Olympic basketball where things are a bit more methodical, a bit more half court heavy. That plays a big factor in this. And so Giannis has the advantage. And I think Greece has a slight advantage because of that, but too much down on the floor for Canada. And I don't know that Giannis gets the help he needs against a team like the Canadians. So, yeah, man, we're both picking Canada for our last game of our Back to the Future segment. So, we started off with the Angels and the Athletics. Me and Chabo both went with the Angels. Again, that one's being played right now. It just started. Canada and Australia. Chabo went with the Australians. Matthew Dellavedova, part of that squad. I decided to roll out with Canada. One of two of my Canadian picks here tonight. Britain versus Spain in men's field hockey. Chabo went with Spain because, shout out Maggie, actually went to Spain and Barcelona for a little bit. And I went with Britain because why not? I saw about 180 seconds worth of field hockey footage, and it was enough to tell me what I need to know, I guess. Then we went to the UFC. Cody Durden versus Bruno Silva. I went Cody Durden. I thought he was a dog. But me thinking that was just because I saw one picture of him. Chabo went with Bruno Silva. And for our final game, it was Greece Canada. We both decided to roll out with Canada. So there you have it. That is episode 6 of the Lunch Table Podcast. We appreciate all y'all's support, man. We've loved doing this. And don't worry, we're going to continue to do these. Y'all just wait until the NFL, college football starts, and then the NBA starts back up. Man, we're going to have a field day on here. So y'all stay tuned. And as always, if there's anything y'all want to hear about or anything y'all want to see, let us know.
Serskin. Elbow room, baby. Elbow.
Elbow room.